This is Steve Zeltzer with Workweek, and the struggle to defend Cuba is growing stronger and stronger as the United States imposes this oil blockade and tries to strangle the country. And one of the important developments in defense of Cuba is the increasing support in Brazil of Brazilian oil workers who are demanding that the Lula government send oil shipments to Cuba to break the blockade. And joining us today is Eduardo Henrique, who's with the Oil Workers Union in Rio de Janeiro, and also Fabio Bosco, who's a trade unionist. He's with Conlutas. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you to invite us.
So, Eduardo, why don't you talk about what happened today in Rio de Janeiro at the company that Petrobras that owns the oil. It's a public company, but you took an action there. Your union.
We are here with the Federation and the unions of oil workers in front of the main building of the Petrobras. That is a public union company. In fact, Brazil has the government of Brazil have the major stakes from Petrobras, and half of this capital is private, no? But we are here now with both federations and many unions and another associations from Cuban liaison with Cuba, no? And we are here to ask the government of Brazil and the administration of Petrobras to send oil and derivatives, oil products to the people of Cuba. We have a position, let's say, independent of the government of what we comments to in relation to Cuba government, like we did with Venezuela. We are positioning ourselves to send an amount of oil. We have an account here that 1 week of the production of Petrobras should be enough to 1 year of Cuba needs. So we find it very reasonable to do this campaign, to do this to send this oil to Cuba as part of the struggle to fight the imperialism, the tentative of the new colonization of the government Trump, no? So we are here with we've been here with some organizations doing this demand, presenting this demand with to the direction, to the administration of the company and to the government. We have did it for we didn't have any response, no, of the government or the company, but we did this public manifestation here now.
And the government of Lula, the Workers' Party, what justification do they use for cutting off oil and going along with the blockade that the United States is imposing on Cuba?
No, in fact, there were no exploration there, or we as we did it. Most of Cuba oil don't come from Brazil or from other countries, most including Venezuela, no. And we another commentary, another point we have been telling is that recently the government of Brazil did not that he would it would exploit oil in Venezuela. I mean, today there's no company, Brazilian company there, but this he wants to join this movement of Trump exporting this oil. That's very complicated. And in Cuba, we have this positive movement to send oil for them. Government says nothing. I didn't knew any comments or any public comment of this fact from
And
the Brazil.
also, the United States has demanded that Cuba return its doctors that are around the world in Mexico and Venezuela. What is the response of the Brazilian people to this demand of Trump to kick out the doctors?
Well, I don't think it will be seen with good eyes, as you say here. I don't know if Fabio should know some position of Brazilian government about that. I didn't hear it. And there is another thing that today we note we have we heard that Trump now has changed the secret. So Cuba, private companies in Cuba could commercialize American could commercialize oil with Cuba and to send it to non-government institutions, or nothing to military or institutional government. I mean, they trying to manipulate to manage the oil that they will send. The oil from Venezuela would go to the United States and back to Cuba from American companies. That's what we heard today.
So the Americans, the United States, the Trump fascist government wants to get the oil from Venezuela, process it in the United States, and then send it to Cuba under conditions that they decide.
Under condition, yeah.
What do you call that?
I don't know the name of that.
Gangsterism. American gangsterism.
It's a good name. Yeah, it's a good name.
And also joining us is Fabio Bosco. He's a trade unionist. He's with Conlutas, and the Conlutas Federation has supported this action. So, Fabio, why don't you talk about the significance of this? I think this is the first labor action by trade unions in Latin America to join in solidarity against the boycott of Cuba and the blockade of oil.
I think, Steve, it's a very significant step that the oil workers from Rio de Janeiro and both federations of oil workers in Brazil to take this clear stand to put pressure on the Brazilian government to send oil for Cuba. And as Eduardo has told us, you see, in 1 week of Brazilian production, it's more than enough to supply Cuba for 1 year. So it's in the hands of the Brazilian government to take this decision and break the blockage, the oil blockage that the U.S. is imposing on Cuba. We, CSP Conlutas, we are endorsing, fully endorsing the action of the oil workers, and we want to be part of an international labor campaign to end the blockage on Cuba and guarantee for the Cuban people the conditions for living. Let me say something more, Steve. In the demonstration today in front of Petrobras, the Brazilian oil company, one of the speakers said very clearly that Brazil had been exporting oil to Israel, but During this year, last year, they did it in disguise, you see. They sent the oil to Italy, and either in Italy or in the Mediterranean, they changed the oil from one tanker to another in order to go to Israel. So if Brazil can export oil to Israel, which is a killing machine against the Palestinians, how can't Brazil send oil to Cuba, you see, where the lack of oil, it's not a question of moving a war machine. It's a question of survival for the Cuban people and for the Cuban economy. So that's one of the reasoning that were brought in this demonstration today in Rio de Janeiro.
And the actions of Trump in Venezuela, the taking over, Trump says he runs the Venezuelan government, and he's deciding what goes on in Venezuela. Has that shocked the people of Brazil, what happened in Venezuela?
Definitely. Look, Steve, to tell you the truth, unfortunately, the majority of the Latin American workers, they saw with good eyes what Trump did on January 3rd, when he kidnapped Nicolás Maduro and Cilia Flores. And why there is this feeling here in Latin America? There are Venezuelan refugees everywhere, and they are approved of the failure of the Venezuelan regime to deliver, you see, proper living for the Venezuelan people. And so there was a feeling that, look, if there is not enough democracy in Venezuela for the people to decide who will be the president, why not Trump go there and take him away? But and so there was this kind of feeling. But mainly the Venezuelan people that are everywhere here in Latin America, they expect the regime to go down, you see, and to have some kind of democratic rights once again in Venezuela. But Trump did not do that. What Trump did is that he is stealing the oil of Venezuela, and his partner is the Venezuelan regime, you see. So that was shocking for the left-wing milieu here in Brazil. I can tell you, no one can understand how the Chavista regime in Venezuela can accept to be a kind of partner in in this robbery of Venezuelan oil that Trump's carrying out. But, you know, Steve, we are in touch with left-wing organizations in Venezuela and also trade unionists in Venezuela who are independent from the regime. And they tell us that there is this feeling against Trump for not finishing, let's say, the dictatorship. But among the workers, there are some expectations that maybe the economy will work better and we are going to have proper wages. But, you know, Steve, our experience with any U.S. intervention in Latin America, they all show the same thing. They show that the U.S. comes and steal the wealth of the country and nothing is left for the working class. So I think these expectations are illusions and they will wither away, you see, but it takes some time. But I can tell you, mainly the left-wing milieu here in Brazil, they were very surprised by how the Chavista regime accepted to be working together with Trump in this backlash against Venezuela and Latin America.
And Eduardo, the United States is demanding that Cuba bow down and Cuba accept, the Cuban government accept conditions for getting oil and other supplies. They would like to impose possibly a Venezuelan situation where the Cuban government capitulates and agrees to collude with the United States and allow the United States into Cuba to take it over. At the same time, there's a threat of our U.S. military attack on Cuba. What do you think the response of the Brazilian workers, oil workers and others, would be to a U.S. attack, direct attack on Cuba?
I would say that we Brazil, we should be worried about that too, because well, there were including candidates to Brazilian government that says that the United States should drop some bombs here in Bahia de Guanabara. Is that our sea in Rio de Janeiro? It's not. Well, it looks like a joke, but it's not exactly a joke. We some months ago we wouldn't believe that Trump would kidnap the president of Venezuela. No, so we have to be worried about Brazil too. But of course, we have different governments and different calculations, as you said, and what we should do, we should demand that the government supports economically, militarily, with guns, with whatever we need to avoid any temptations of invasion. And the works should be in this militia, or how we could say, how we could call that, because we have today brigadas, we call brigades of support to Cuba, and we should do that more effectively, but with our independence, our own politics, our own ideas, but to defend the people. I don't know if it would be possible, in fact, there.
And what would you urge American workers to do in supporting your effort to end the blockade of oil from Brazil to Cuba?
That's the point. That's we think it's even more important than what we could do from here. You know, the American workers could change it. The organization of the American workers, we could see simply with this all the politics for ICE, or the politics for or Vietnam. Let's remember Vietnam. Where could from where could the stronger strength could come? It's from the American workers, I think.
And the issue of Bolsonaro, Trump and the fascists in the U.S. government wanted Bolsonaro released. He wanted Bolsonaro to be the head of Brazil. He supported Milei in Argentina. The threat of fascism, is that an issue, a serious issue for Brazilians and the people of Latin America? Fabio?
Yeah, definitely. Look, Steve, there is something interesting happening here in Brazil regarding the relationship with Trump. What happens? We will have national elections in October this year, and there is a deep divide among the Brazilian people between the far-right Bolsonarist candidate, who is in fact the son of Bolsonaro, and Lula. Lula is standing once again. And so the polls shows a big divide, you see. And the strategists behind Lula believes that it's critical to prevent Trump from doing what he did in Argentina, you see. Because in Argentina, Trump intervened in the elections, provided $20 billion funding for Argentina, and this was instrumental for Milei's victory, you see. But these strategies, Lula strategies, what they believe, we must not challenge Trump, you see. We can have one statement here saying, look, Trump should not control the oil of Venezuela, another statement there look, this issue of Cuba is a humanitarian issue, but not challenge it, you see, in such a way to prevent, to make Trump uncomfortable, to take a clear stand in favor of the far right in Brazil in the national elections. So that's what explains the lack of action by the Brazilian government. And look, in the case of Venezuela, as Eduardo told us, it's a shame. Lula is going to meet Trump to talk to him in order to allow the Brazilian oil company Petrobras to drill oil from Venezuela. So Brazil will be part of this plundering of Venezuelan oil. You see, what Brazil should do is to, I don't know, to tell the world, look, what's happening in Venezuela is the Trump take out Venezuela sovereignty. You see, who decides for whom the oil will be sold? Now it's Trump. That's not acceptable. Lula should take a stand on that, but he's trying to avoid any kind of confrontation with Trump, and Cuba the same. You see, what's happening in Cuba is unacceptable. But the Brazilian administration, what they believe, look, it's better not to challenge Trump. Let's see in which areas we can work with him in such a way to stop any intervention in the Brazilian national elections next October. That's very bad. That's very sad to tell you that, but unfortunately, that's what's happening here now.
Okay, well, I want to thank you both. We've been talking with Eduardo Henrique. He is a oil worker with the Federation of Oil Workers in Rio de Janeiro, and he was at a rally today at the headquarters of Petrobras, demanding that they break the U.S. blockade of oil to Cuba, and also Fabio Bosco with the Trade Union Federation Conlutas, which is supporting this action and calling for an end to the blockade of oil to Cuba. So thanks for joining us on Work Week.
Thank you, Steve.